So you went from obviously, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Sherlock Holmes, crime films, and this is quite a shift in style.
In some respects it is, in some respects it's not, considering that essentially Aladdin is about street thief. I felt like I was on terra firma there, and then it was really a shift of moving into actually a genre which I'm pretty familiar with anyway, which is family entertainment. I have 5 kids, so the last 19 years has really been about, well, there's been a good deal of Disney movies anyway, and a good deal of Disney princesses. So I felt as though it was actually the sort of meeting of two worlds, which I was probably more familiar with than you might suspect.
Oh, interesting. There's also the other fact that you were taking, you did that also, but in a very different way with King Arthur. It's a legend, it's something that people know. And Aladdin also is something where there are expectations. People are familiar with the story, but you had to bring a new twist to it. So what are the new twists that you can talk to us about?
It's funny, with something like King Arthur, you're allowed to take some degrees of sojourns, although you may well be punished because of it. Really, something like King Arthur's a metaphor. Aladdin's not quite the same thing, and because of the 92 animated production, there is a nostalgia and familiarity with that. You don't want to disturb too much from the audience. There's going to be certain requisites that they want, and I suppose as a filmmaker, I was probably sympathetic to that in the sense that they were the same requisites that I wanted. So really it was a question of addition by addition rather than addition by subtraction, in the sense that you're allowed to embellish a film, but I'm not a nostalgic film. I'm not sure if you're allowed to take wild sojourns off this principal spine of the narrative. So I was careful to hold on and to preserve the familiarity and nostalgia of the first production. But at the same time, times have moved on, and you have to paint slightly more subtly with a live action film than you do with an animated film. And there were certain characters, the likes of Jasmine, that needed updating, if you will. I like to articulate that in a way and explain that in a way that is really about a equality of challenge. In the first production, she was rather unchallenged, and Aladdin got all the challenges. And in this incarnation, she's more challenged.
I wanted to ask you also about filming in Jordan. What was it that, in the end, made you decide that this was going to be the place for Aladdin?
I think it was a conspiracy of reasons, but from a practical point of view, or an aesthetic point of view, if you will, more so than a practical point of view, it really had the aesthetic I was after. Then what happens of course, is that once you found your aesthetic, then the practical men put the boots on the ground and say whether you can film in said and preferred area. And once they came back and there was a positive result there, then there was a sort of confluence of a happy marriage of it being practical and both creatively pleasing. So they were the two principal reasons. I'm not sure what other reasons you could want outside of that. So it works practically, and Jordan's been very friendly and has facilitated all of our requisite desires. So it's worked really for the practical side of filmmaking and for the creative side too.
Great. I just have one quick question. Do I have time? A quick word for, just of advice. We have a lot of filmmakers, young filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers who come to us, and we try and offer them as much training. Is there a word of advice you'd give to somebody who wants to make it in this business?
Yeah, this is a curious question, this one, because I was turned down from every film school that I ever went to. Every film school that I applied to enter. And really it was a question of hustling. And not having people say no. I would argue that directing is sort of 9/10 confidence. And by the way, people will not like your work too. Right? So you just have to push through all of that and somehow keep going. I watched a documentary the other day, and the summary of the documentary, I can't remember what the documentary was about, but someone that was very successful in whatever it was that they did. It's really a question of staying in the saddle.
Yeah.
Life is really an assault of challenges trying to push you out of the saddle. If you've made up your mind about what it is that you're going to do, and you're realistic about it, whatever that means, then you just got to stay in the saddle, and they will try and pull you out of that saddle.
Okay, well that's actually great advice. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much indeed.
And thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.